let's go ahead and get this rolling. So to kick this off, let me tell you a little bit about myself. My name is Paul Ranieri, and my background is all things business, real estate, sales, and marketing. After I closed over $50 million in mortgage loans in my first 6 months as a loan officer, I knew that I wanted to be involved in something bigger, better, and where I could help more people. So this is why I transitioned over to Engineered Capital Gain Solutions, where I'm a deferred sales trust consultant helping clients defer capital gains taxes on their highly appreciated assets. My role is to educate insurance professionals, CPAs, brokers, and clients on how the deferred sales trust works and qualify clients to make sure that the deferred sales trust is the right solution before introducing them to the trustees and attorney. Engineered Capital Gain Solutions is an approved trustee for the Deferred Sales Trust, and it is a family-owned trustee run by the father and son team of David and Quinn Ellis. Combined, David and Quinn have over 40 years experience serving clients as fiduciaries in the financial services industry. When considering the transfer of assets to your children, I believe that it's crucial that you work with a generational and innovative team of individuals with a proven track record of success like the Ellises. So real quick, a disclaimer. I would also like to mention that you're not going to get rich quick. This isn't a get rich quick scheme. There's real no way to do that. But if you do work extremely hard, you use this to add value. We have watched insurance agents transition their focus from writing maybe low six-figure annuities, not very stable, happening pretty infrequent, to writing a consistent high 6- and 7-figure annuity. So the Deferred Sales Trust is the differentiating tool that is helping our partners get in front of 7-figure annuity opportunities. And in this webinar, I'm going to show you how to implement the Deferred Sales Trust, how to add value to your relationships, and earn new annuity business in less than 20 minutes. Does that sound good to you guys? I'm hoping you said yes, so let's get to it. Let's walk through the 3 secrets that insurance professionals need to know. So secret number 1 is how to attract influential business relationships without sounding like the traditional insurance professional. Secret number 2 is how to find these large annuity cases and generate high quality leads without perpetually buying new lists. Secret number 3 is how to carve out your piece of a more than $68 trillion market without bribing people to come to your dinner seminars. Secret number 1, let's talk about relationships. So let's discuss how insurance professionals and really anyone in the financial services industry traditionally reaches out to a center of influence like a CPA, for example. Oftentimes, they're going to offer things like, increased revenue shares, shared marketing. They're going to offer enhanced client experiences, mutual referral partners. I'll refer someone to you, you refer someone to me. I hear these types of conversations from insurance professionals all the time. And while all of these offers sound really, really great to you and for you to handle a CPA's, client's insurance needs, they don't really care. They get that pitch on a daily basis. So Paul, how are these relationships built? That's the question I always get asked. And the real answer, just like anything else in your life, is that relationships are built upon value and consistent problem solving. So because you're able to solve a massive problem that their clients are facing, you establish credibility and the opportunity to be referred more high value opportunities. The Deferred Sales Trust, it provides the opportunity to collaborate with professionals such as tax attorneys, estate planners, just to be able to offer a holistic approach to financial planning. And of course, as you know, networking just leads to significantly more referrals and a stronger reputation in the industry. Secret number 1 is really just about getting you in the door so that once you are in there, we can talk about secret number 2. So secret number 2, how can you begin to increase your annuity leads? That's the golden question. So we're going to circle back actually a little bit to the last secret, where lead generation is really all about getting in the door, because without getting in the door, you can't find the leads. Once you get in the door with these centers of influence like a CPA, commercial real estate brokerage, etc., it makes life a lot easier. By surrounding yourself with these connections, it just takes away the need for buying the dreaded, list, in cold calling, where you need to sell a certain percentage just to continually purchase and buy more lists. By leveraging the deferred sales trust, you're able to solve problems for other centers of influence who will then bring their clients to you to help solve their problems. It also gives you the opportunity to meet with and host things like webinars for firms to teach them about the DST. Quick side note as well, you might not feel confident enough to present to an entire team about this strategy just yet. No problem. That's totally normal. Feel free to reach out to me directly. I regularly attend and host these types of events with agents to help them present the deferred sales trust as a tax deferral strategy for a firm's clients. So I'm always happy to do that with you. A lot of you are probably wondering as well, well, where do annuities come into play, right? He's talking about this strategy. That's great. But where do annuities come into play with this tax deferral strategy? So in just a few slides, I will walk through actually 3 examples where insurance professionals we are partnered with were able to convert high value leads by using found money, or money that clients would not have had if they didn't use the deferred sales trust. The nature of it is that if you want to make money, solve a rich person's problems. $1 million annuities don't just fall off of trees. And I'm really, really excited to show you guys exactly how insurance professionals just like you are helping their clients with 7-figure annuities on a regular basis. So secret number 3. Secret number 3 is how to carve out your piece of a more than $68 trillion baby boomer market. No, I am not pulling $68 trillion number out of thin air. This number actually comes from a Forbes article on August 9th of this year that you can take a look at on Google, just discussing how baby boomers are in the retirement phase of their lives. Many are planning for life after work and thinking about how they're going to distribute their wealth to their children, their grandchildren, and considering that this cohort currently holds half of the nation's household wealth, preserving and transferring this tidal wave of assets will be a mammoth task. The baby boomer generation is expected to actually sell their assets and leave a significant amount of money to their millennial children. There has never been a better time in our nation's history to have a tax deferral strategy within your grasp that will open the door to countless estate planning opportunities and the opportunity to offer your services with found money, which again, we will talk about here in just a few minutes. It is time to start cutting out the dreaded dinner seminars, or at least limit them to, more intimate settings with a highly likely client. I don't think I've ever heard a single agent, that I work with shout from the mountaintops, "Wow, I can't wait to host another dinner seminar next week," right? We live in a world where COVID made Zoom webinars like this one, and phone calls the norm. Most people want to be comfy in their own home, wearing their PJs. And now, don't get me wrong, right? Meeting in person is obviously the best. It's very important, but it isn't as necessary and, right off the bat like it used to be. Make sure that you're using this to your advantage. So what is the deferred sales trust, and how can this help with annuities? So let's learn about the deferred sales trust first, and then we'll talk about the annuities a little later on. The DST is a tax deferral strategy. It is not a tax elimination strategy. The DST is a type of IRC Section 453 installment sale, also known as a seller carryback sale. Under this code section, the seller can achieve significant tax deferral benefits by not receiving actual or constructive receipt of the proceeds at the time of the sale. Instead, receiving payments made to them over time. Moreover, the deferred sales trust just has greater flexibility than a conventional installment sale with respect to investment selection, risk management, and the repayment timeframe. So how does the deferred sales trust work? Let's talk it through with 7 simple steps. So the first step, a client with a highly appreciated asset sells their asset to a third-party trustee in consideration of a secured DST installment contract. Second, the third-party DST trustee buys the assets. Third, the trustee sells the assets to the ultimate buyer for the agreed upon amount and funds the trust in exchange for the assets. Now that the trust is funded in step 5, the seller works with the trust's financial advisor to approve an asset allocation in note terms based upon their financial goals and their needs. The invested funds in step 6 are going to go to work and begin to generate an income for the client. Now in step 7, the seller receives secured DST installment payments from the trust based upon the note terms. Now, anytime the client receives a portion of their principal, they do pay a proportion of capital gains taxes at that time. Anytime they receive interest as income, they pay income tax at that time. So what can be deferred? You're probably wondering, well, what can be deferred using the DST, right? So let's dive into it. First off, businesses, professional practices, commercial real estate, investment properties. It's also commonly a 1031 rescue plan, which I will discuss here in just a moment. It can defer gains on high-end primary residences where that $250,000 or $500,000 exclusion just doesn't cut it. Major private stock positions, artwork, collectibles, and I actually talked about this on my last webinar I hosted as well, but it's a pretty interesting little snippet. We had a gentleman some time back who was actually looking to possibly sell his Picasso painting. It had been passed down through his family for a few generations, and it was being appraised, likely to be valued between $25 and $50 million. So just a cool little story, really shows the wide array of people that we help. Back to the 1031 rescue plan. Our structure can help your clients save their 1031 exchanges in a scenario where, potentially they either can't identify or close within the specified timeframes of a 1031 exchange. Really just providing an extra sense of security in knowing that if something goes south during the process, they aren't left writing a life-changing check to Uncle Sam. So let's walk through a few examples and we'll discuss how insurance agents used found money to not only help their client, which of course always comes first, but to also make a large annuity sale. For reference, all 3 of these cases are real cases and real commissions the agents have earned. The numbers are rounded just to whole numbers for an ease of explanation. So the first case that we will discuss, it was a $6 million business sale that occurred in California. And these clients were looking to retire. They were going to be looking at a almost $2+ million tax burden. So by using the DST, the clients were able to defer the $2 million and actually invested about $1.8 million of that into an annuity product to help diversify the trust retirement portfolio, their retirement plans. So instead of writing an upfront check to Uncle Sam, they were able to generate steady income from what would have otherwise been a check written to Uncle Sam or lost money, right? The theoretical return on a check written to Uncle Sam is always 0. So this provided for the insurance agent who sold this annuity approximately $115,000 commission check for that agent. So let's talk about another situation. What about, I get this a lot. What about a client who maybe they don't want an annuity? Maybe they just really don't like annuities for whatever reason. But maybe they're worried about their children having to pay their tax burden down the road. So this brought up an awesome opportunity for an agent to discuss a premium finance policy with their client. So in the case that we're about to talk about, it was a $20 million medical business that was being sold. And the client's major concern was that their children inheriting their capital gains tax bill down the road. They were worried about their children having to pay, a little over $7 million. And so we looked at a premium finance policy, and let's kind of walk through a few numbers. So let's say the trust were to earn a conservative 5% on the deferred $7 million. The client would then receive an additional, let's say, $350,000 per year that they would have not had otherwise. In this specific scenario, the clients were able to fund a life insurance policy for $90,000 a year for 10 years that would pay out a $7 million death benefit upon their death, allowing the beneficiaries options after the clients had passed. So by opening doors into different estate planning opportunities like this one with the Deferred Sales Trust, this agent earned just over a $100,000 commission. You're probably thinking, well, what about for someone who sells a little bit of a smaller asset? I already work with some CPAs. I already get referrals. I could kind of see where this is going, but maybe they are, $1, $2, $3, $4 million assets that are being sold. So I wanted to provide as well a $2 million apartment complex example of a client that we had here in Southern California. And so in this case, there was a client that sold a $2 million apartment complex, and it was actually determined that based on their goals, the trust was going to allocate 15% of the funds towards an annuity. Now, as you guys know, $300,000 annuities don't fall off trees either, right? This opportunity drew a $19,000 commission check for that agent. So we are seeing large annuity checks just like this written constantly for our partners. So what does this process look like from start to finish? So the process starts with a detailed consultation with one of our specialized DST attorneys who will gather appropriate details of the transaction to determine if it is suitable for structuring as a DST, as well as what the potential benefits would be to the taxpayer. Then, if the transaction meets the requirements for a DST and sufficient benefits can be obtained for that taxpayer, a conditional engagement agreement is offered to the taxpayer by the DST attorney. This engagement, it requires no upfront retainer, and it doesn't obligate the taxpayer to pay for any services unless and until the closing of the sale of the appreciated asset and a decision by the taxpayer to proceed with the funding of the trust. The clients work with the trust financial advisor, our team as trustee, to understand their risk tolerance and determine their goals for growth and disbursement of the funds over time. Lastly, annual reviews are conducted to ensure that the client's goals are being met and they are satisfied with the investments and how they're performing. So, Paul, how do we know this is legal? Good question. I get this all the time. It's a very common one. Our structure, it falls under Internal Revenue Code 453. It's structured as an installment sale. And now I always like to mention this, that there are some knockoff strategies of what we do, that they use the same tax code, but obviously they don't work the same. So one of which that I like to make very, very clear we are not in any way related to is the monetized installment sale, which for those of you who know about it, you can obviously see why it doesn't work. And it's been very, very clear for many years that it was just a ticking time bomb, really, for the IRS to make it a listed transaction, which they recently did. The Deferred Sales Trust has been around for over 24 years now. There have been a little over 5,000 trusts created. The structure has been audited by the IRS over a dozen times, and every single time the cases have been fully closed out with no changes required. So let's discuss audit defense as well, since that's typically a question I get at the end of these webinars. In the case of an audit, you may be wondering, my client, would they be on the hook for legal fees? What does that look like? They're not on the hook for the legal fees. Our attorneys are the ones who actually stand behind the structure and defend the structure in the off chance that it is audited, and that's at no additional cost to the client. Alrighty, perfect. So live Q&A time. And it does look like we have a few questions. So now is the time to go ahead and ask, and I will be randomly selecting just a few of them to answer live, and then the rest I will send you an email if I'm unable to get to it. So let me go ahead. I'm going to pull out the first question here real quick. Okay, first question is, does the DST note you talked about terminate upon death and make the taxes be owed immediately from the beneficiaries? Good question. So the note actually does not terminate upon death. The note gets passed to beneficiaries, and they can keep the note in place, or they can decide to take receipt of the funds, pay taxes at that time. It's totally up to them. Next question. What if I don't have my securities license? What happens to that money, and do you guys manage that? Really good question. So we are actually solely the trustee. We do not manage any money. We work with the third party, DST Wealth Management, who are huge advocates for fixed products. So that's one thing that obviously you would care about. Okay, let me pull up. Looks like there's a few more questions. I want to be cognizant of time. It looks like we're around that 20-minute mark. So I'm going to go ahead and answer one more question. Is there a specific IMO or carriers you have to write business with? Really good question. No, the options are open. With that being said, we do have partner IMOs that understand the structure and how the insurance and the annuities, how the products are set up within the trust that can help you get started. We found that the process is generally easier and smoother using them, but the options are open. Okay, so that question will wrap up today's webinar. Thank you guys so much for joining, and I look forward to hopefully hearing from you soon.